There was an Encyclopedia Brown comic strip in the late 1970s. It's not a very good comic strip, which is why it only lasted for 94 weeks. The book's description says it has 49 mysteries. Ha! I wish! It only has 24 mysteries. I'm guessing the plan was to publish 3 books of 24 mysteries each, because that would cover the entire lifetime of the series, and maybe they could have done a 4th book to cover the Sunday strips. But they only published 2 books, so this was a failure as a comic strip and a book series.
Argo Font Book Review, Argo Font Book Review.
Case 1 is taken directly from Book 13. Case 1, 9 of the cases come directly from the book, so I'm going to skim through this reused content in favor of focusing on the original mysteries. A kidnapped man wrote 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on his calendar. The first letter of those months spell out the name Jason. Case 2 is Book 7, Case 9. Ace pretends he can fly. Encyclopedia points out he couldn't have flown through a closed window. Case 3. Bugs mean he stole Sally's papers and ran away. When they confront Bugs, his right leg is bandaged. He claims he was bitten by a dog. The dog's owner and Bugs' doctor confirm he was bitten. Sally is confused because Bugs couldn't have run away with a leg injury. They later see Bugs hobbling down the street with a cane in his left hand. What is wrong? Bugs is holding the cane in his wrong hand. If his right leg was hurt, he'd be holding the cane in his right hand. Therefore, the leg injury is a fake. The dog did bite him, but it bit him on the arms. Encyclopedia proves this by grabbing Bugs' arms and squeezing them as hard as he can. It's actually kind of a violent way to prove Bugs is lying. Case 4. A cabin in the snowy mountains has been robbed. The owner says that he and his friends left the cabin a week ago. He double-checked to make sure the exits were locked. Encyclopedia looks at the week-old footprints. A random dog shows up and sniffs them. What is wrong? If the footprints are a week old, the dog couldn't smell anything. Therefore, these footprints are fresh. This proves the owner visited his cabin today. It doesn't prove he faked the robbery, but Encyclopedia pretends it does. Case 5, this is Book 5, Case 8. A neighbor shoots the dog. He claims it was an accident. He was chasing after an unexpected burglar. Encyclopedia points out, you did not leave the house in a rush. The door is closed, and the phone is nicely hung up. In the book, the man shoots the dog on purpose because he hates it. Here, the shooting's an accident. He was trying to scare the dog away from a cat. Case 6. Book 13, Case 7. Someone steals a can of tennis balls. John is the culprit. He pretends not to know anything about tennis, but he accidentally gives himself away because he knows tennis balls come in threes. Case 7. Someone steals a painting and leaves pins behind. They demand a ransom. The gallery owner drops off the money and finds another note which says, go back inside. In the next strip, everybody's reading a completely different note from the one that was found. The new note says, the painting is here, though not in plain sight. You could find it now, or you could wait till night. Where is it? It's hidden inside the window shade. We know this because people draw their curtains at night, and pins are useful for attaching things to curtains. I don't like this conclusion, but it is a nice twist that the stolen painting never left the room. Case 8. Encyclopedia and his dad are fishing on a river when they see hundreds of dead mackerels. What is fishy about this? Mackerels are saltwater fish, and rivers are made of fresh water. It turns out the fish were killed by chemicals. They find a sign for Mueller's chemical plant located 2 miles downstream. Mr. Mueller says, the sign must have floated away from the plant, and he denies dumping chemicals into the river. Is he lying? Yes, debris floats downstream, not upstream. Therefore, the sign couldn't have gone upstream from the plant. That means the sign entered the river from somewhere else, presumably an illegal dumping site. I liked how this case was a double mystery. 7 of the mysteries in this book are 2 weeks long. Those are cases 4, 5, 8, 12, 15, 18, and 22. This is the only 2-week mystery that has 2 different mysteries to solve. It's nice. Case 9. Encyclopedia finds a brooch and a tie clip on the beach. The brooch was stolen from the Dubois sisters 3 days ago. They accuse John, the owner of the tie clip. What is wrong? If the items had been stolen 3 days ago, they would have been washed over by 6 tides, but Encyclopedia found them on the surface of the beach. Therefore, the items were planted there earlier today in an attempt to frame John. That's a good conclusion, but the story never specifies the items were found on the surface of the beach. We just got told they were found on the beach. So it's impossible to solve this mystery. There's not enough information. Case 10. While Encyclopedia and Sam go snorkeling, two villains go on board a boat and rob the captain. The villains say they're going to Pilgrim's Beach. When Sam hears this, he says they should give chase. There's no way two people in a rowboat can go faster than them. What is wrong? Sam knew the culprits were in a rowboat without being told. He couldn't have known that unless he was working with him. Also, the fact that they robbed the captain so quickly indicates they had an accomplice. Case 11 is Book 4, Case 8. Slightly different, though. Sally is the one who loses a race. She loses to a pair of twins who cheated by pretending to be one person. We know they're different people because one has a loose braid on the left and the other has a loose braid on the right. In the original story, the evidence was one twin has dirty teeth but the other doesn't. I thought it was clever to switch it to braids for the comic strip because we can see the braids. It works well. Although the braid switch takes place in between Thursday and Friday's strips, if the twins switched places in the same strip, it would have worked better. Case 12. Bugs Meany lures Encyclopedia to a statue at night. Encyclopedia sees a wallet on the ground and picks it up. A car arrives. Bugs says, "It's the police!" and he accuses Encyclopedia of stealing the wallet. What is wrong? Bugs knew the car was a police car, even though it was driving towards him at night. The headlights should have blinded Bugs, making it impossible for him to see what kind of car it was. Plus, it was an unmarked police car, so it's double impossible for him to know what the car is ahead of time, unless Bugs called the police in advance because he was going to frame Encyclopedia. Case 13. Bugs says Encyclopedia broke into his house. He was taking a hot shower with the door closed when he noticed Encyclopedia's face in his bathroom mirror. Is that possible? No, the mirror should have been fogged over from the hot shower. There's also the fact that the door was closed, so he couldn't have seen Encyclopedia in the hallway, but nobody points this out. Case 14 is Book 12, Case 8. At a costume party, someone robs a stamp collector and leaves a piece of glass behind. The suspects are a two-person horse, Sherlock Holmes, a tipsy Tweedledee, and a masked cowboy. Who is it? Sherlock Holmes. The glass was from his magnifying glass. He stole the stamp collector's magnifying glass for a replacement. Chief Brown forces Encyclopedia to dress up as a girl for this case. It's not explained why Chief Brown has a 10-year-old girl's dress and wig handy. That's the real mystery. Case 15. Mr. Bones is robbed the day he got 2 deliveries. The daytime delivery people say they were busy all night. The nighttime delivery guy says he remembers the house had a stained glass window in the back of the hall, but he barely walked past the front door. Who is lying? The night guy. Stained glass can only be seen when light shines through the opposite side. So if he saw the window, he must have done so at daytime when the robbery occurred. This is an incorrect mystery solution. You can look at a stained glass window and recognize what it's a picture of without light shining through. Case 16 is Book 9, Case 5. Wilford Wiggins has a deaf friend who read the lips of 2 bank robbers. They were talking about stolen money. The friend knew to be on the lookout for bank robbers because of a loudspeaker announcement, which is impossible because deaf people can't hear things on loudspeakers. Case 17 is Book 10, Case 1. A man comes in out of the freezing cold into a house that's 70 degrees. He sees a robber. Encyclopedia says the story's fake because the man's glasses should have fogged up, making it impossible for him to see anything. Case 18. Charlie's uncle left a puzzle in his will. It looks like a crossword puzzle. While this is a neat idea, they show the puzzle 4 times in this story. Reusing a picture that takes up half of the strip? That feels like a cheap trick to take up space. The solution is to note the lowercase words are Q-U-I-L-T, which spells quilt. The word L is a fake out because there's nothing inside the L. This is the first time in my life I've ever heard that word used. Case 19. There's a robbery on the 2nd floor of the house. Since the doors were locked, it might have been an inside job. Then again, the thief might have climbed the ivy to get in through the open window. The ivy is ripped at the top, but not at the bottom. What do you conclude? The thief touched the ivy at the top, not the bottom. Therefore, they climbed part way down the ivy and jumped the rest of the way. Since the thief only used the ivy to climb out and not in, this must be an inside job. Case 20. Unnamed guy accuses unnamed guy and another unnamed guy of trying to shoot him. These characters need names. I'm so confused. Anyway, here's what happened. Someone was standing outside. They shot at guy number 1. Guy number 1 returned fire. He almost hit guy number 2. Guy number 2 says, "This is a lie. There is no gunshot from outside." Guy number 1 points out the window, which has a gunshot hole in the top part of the frame and a hole in the bottom. Who's the liar? Guy number 1 is lying. The bottom part of the window was raised when the gun was fired, so a singular shot made 2 separate holes. I have no idea why guy number 2 didn't mention that himself. You think he would have pointed that out when he was being accused of attempted murder? But I guess not. Case 21. Butch was playing basketball with a guy from the Hurricanes. He bragged that there's a lot of money in the Tigers clubhouse. When he came back, the money was gone. Butch says the clubhouse is 2 miles away and the other guy left a half hour before he did. Butch says, "It's too bad I didn't leave 10 minutes earlier because I would have caught the robber red-handed." Who did it? Only the culprit would know that the robbery happened exactly 20 minutes into the 30-minute time period. Therefore, Butch is the culprit. Or he was just speaking in general terms when he said, "Too bad I didn't show up 10 minutes sooner." That's entirely possible. Case 22. In this strange case, which I didn't fully understand, Encyclopedia is going to meet a doctor. Mr. Lear opens the door and tells the doctor Encyclopedia's here. The doctor says he'll come out in 10 minutes. An hour later, the doctor still hasn't come out. His room is empty, except for a memo about giving testimony. Encyclopedia is quick to decide this is a kidnapping, and he accuses everyone, including the person who wrote the memo and the 2 secretaries who say they didn't see the doctor leave the building. How was the doctor kidnapped? The obvious solution is that one of the secretaries is lying because she's one of the kidnappers. Encyclopedia decides the doctor was never there to begin with. Lear is the culprit. He only pretended to talk to the doctor in order to trick Encyclopedia into thinking that the kidnapping occurred much later than it actually did. Case 23 is Book 8, Case 6. Someone steals a coin. Encyclopedia lures the culprit into a kitchen and says the coin's in a flour can. The culprit gives himself away because he knows it's flour, as in plant, not flour, as in the cooking ingredient commonly found in kitchens. I think the solution works slightly better in comic strip format because we can see both flour cans in question. Case 24 is Book 1, Case 7. Mrs. Van Tweedle thinks someone will steal her necklace. She goes into her bedroom and screams. There are 2 gunshots. When Chief Brown and Encyclopedia come in, Mrs. Van Tweedle is unconscious and the necklace is gone. She claims that she saw nothing, which is a lie, because if she saw nothing, she wouldn't have screamed. The end. Post-book follow-up. The biggest problem with this comic strip is the pacing. Sometimes the stories are too short to last a whole week, so the first 2 strips of the week are random filler where Encyclopedia talks to an unrelated person. In the stained glass case, the entire first week was filler. It took the victim multiple days to explain he was robbed. That could have happened in just 1 day. To be fair, sometimes the original stories also had problems with being too short. But they usually had jokes or snappy dialogue to pad the length. This strip does not. The opposite problem is when stories are too long. Sometimes the solution in Saturday's strip requires readers to remember a small detail from Monday's strip. That's asking too much, and it can feel like a cheat, especially if the vital clue is something that wasn't mentioned outright. Luckily, this is less of a problem, since the strips are in book format. You can easily flip back a page and reread Monday's strip. In real life, you would have to save old newspapers to do that. Funnily enough, it seems that these Sunday strips were the best part of this comic strip. Every week had a full, self-contained mystery. That works! It's just like the Shylock Fox mystery comic strip, but for older readers. I think if this strip had been just Sundays, it would have been more successful. The artwork for the strips is merely okay. Most of the strips feature unnamed older men, and they start to look the same after a while. Bugs and Encyclopedia look pretty similar too. The only real difference between the two of them is that Bugs has a big nose and a hat. Overall, I found this book to be mildly interesting. The comics aren't very good, but hey, it's 15 brand new Encyclopedia Brown mysteries! I'm surprised that these little known mysteries weren't repurposed into new Encyclopedia Brown books. I would totally be up for that. I would love to read or write that book. But would I love to read this book again? No. I give Encyclopedia Brown's Book of Comic Strips number 1 a 2 out of 10. It is extremely unlikely that I will find a copy of book number 2. I checked. There is not a single library in the country which has that book available, and it's not available for sale anywhere. So I guess it's extremely rare, and the odds are low that I will ever find a copy myself.